There are bridges, bridges in the sky, they are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire, they can change two things to one. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a war. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a war. There are canyons, they are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, and they are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and soul foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and soul foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music, and let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon, let us write another wrong. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way.
We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Thank you, Bill Staines. You know, he says in that song, there's suspicion. People are worried about what's going on. They're suspicious of other people. They're worried about, they have to cross a canyon of empathy and a canyon of bigotry and hatred. Well, that's what we're doing here on Bridges Forever. We're trying to bring together people, all walks of life, all religions and nationalities, and make sure they're on one planet, one group, as Bucky says.
Help them communicate with each
other.
other.
Help them communicate without blind suspicion, and realize that every human being has the same purpose in life, and not to take from each other. What creates the taking and stealing and paranoia is the economy, and we're trying to bring that so people don't want to kill one another, and they don't want to take advantage of one another, and they just want to make it better for all humanity.
So you're saying the directive of the economy is creating a lot of these really bad,
right? All these things are directly related to the economic system, and that's the Pope saying it. And people want to change, but they don't understand where they're going with this change. They're willing to vote anybody into office because they want to change.
They don't want what they've got, so they figure a change.
But they don't.
But the question, like a random thing.
But the question is, you got to ask yourself, what do you want? What would you like to see?
The future.
And what you'd like to see the future be, I'm sure, would be lack of killing your people and a comfortable lifestyle, and
not just for yourself, but
for
people,
all human beings. And when you do that, you basically stop. You stop
a lot of tension, a lot of distrust.
Yeah, and that's what Bridges Programming tries to do. So welcome to World Call In. It's Wednesday World Call In. My name is Jeff Beller. I should get into the camera so I can see you. Hopefully we have on the line Dennis
And that
Carius.
translates into no more wars, no more poverty, but this will take a long time because what's been evolving under our present economics has been evolving for
thousands of years.
At least 1,000 years.
So
it's not going to happen overnight, but you can.
Anyway, with us, there's Susan next to me on my left, and Dennis Carius is on
the phone.
And I don't know if he's tuned in.
Yes, I can see Susan on the screen.
Okay, so that's a
And
that's
even
a good
CJAC,
thing,
right?
right? And then I'm going to go ahead and check the time schedule here. But we're here, and we're going to talk a little more about Exxon Mobile.
I
And-
can't let it go because this
Because-
is such a huge
well,
thing. It's a history-making
but I want to
situation.
I want to bring something out before because something came to us yesterday, and we realized that this Exxon Mobil problem is also a symptom of all of this. It's the symptom of all wars, and it's a symptom of
What do you mean a
to-
symptom?
to
I don't
make-
know
to
what you're
make-
saying.
to make money at any cost,
Okay,
and to lie and to cheat and to steal
which is called fraud.
which is fraudulent. And
Right.
then you listen
the
to what's
law.
going on to the we don't watch television in the house. We have a TV set and we do have rabbit ears. We don't have the other stuff, the cables or the
So
dishes
wait,
or
you're
whatever.
losing your point, honey.
But the point I'm making is that when we do turn on the rabbit ears and you see all these drugs and the insurance companies and everything's about pushing money. They tell you, well, you can try this drug and this drug will most probably kill you. It tells you in the fine print. They say it real fast.
My instinct about that is this is the bubble they're trying to create now. Is the pharma bubble, the pharmaceutical bubble. And that's the economic system colluding with pharmaceuticals to create another huge, because they go for something that they think everybody is going to think they need or want. And so they say, oh, this will save your life, or this will keep you from getting this and this disease, or make you feel better. And if they can make that case, through the
right,
the
but
TV,
it's all about the economics.
then
The
they
point,
can keep
the
raising
point,
prices
the point I'm trying
for
to make.
pharmaceuticals,
The
just like
point
they
I'm
raise
trying to make-
just like they raise the prices on homes. It's just like a real estate bubble, but this is a pharmaceutical.
Well, I don't want to
situation.
fall into the trap of the bubble. I don't want to fall into the trap of the economy. I want to just say that they use advertising to tell you what you think you need,
Right,
and then they blow this out of proportion. Then they sell stocks in it,
right, and that's
and then
what
people
Exxon
buy
Mobil has
stocks.
been doing for 200 years now.
And the thing you really need is
Well, actually,
energy.
100 years.
You
sorry.
need health care. You need housing. You need food. And so the economic system controls your food at the supermarket. They control your health care. They control the housing market. You name it, the economic system, the people buy into stuff and make you dependent upon it.
Actually, another aspect of the pharmaceutical bubble that's being created now is the insurance companies that are saying, oh dear, the pharmaceuticals are getting so expensive that we can't provide assurance for our customers because what they need as far as drugs is we can't afford. It's more than we can afford. So we have to raise our rates. Okay, so
that means you have to work harder to pay the bills.
Right, and slowly all these insurance companies, there's like only a few of them now. Well, there'll be fewer and fewer, and they will,
manipulate
the price of insurance. We're all being strangled, by this kind of activity. Oh, we're too big to fail. Routine is going on, but this time it's going on in a different kind of little kink to it, in that we're all required now to pay insurance, to have our care that's been constructed, but we're all now slaves to the insurance company.
Well, we're slaves to working for the system.
Right.
That's it's not just
but that's another slavery.
No, it's another thing you have to work for. You have to work to buy your car, pay for your house, pay your taxes.
And there's no end to the way that pharma will keep raising their prices, because there's nothing capping them.
Pharma sounds like farming.
Pharmaceutical companies will not control themselves, and the regulations that supposedly control them, these are always being manipulated and
through the
challenged.
Through the laws
and
by money.
This is what Exxon Mobile has done.
I want to tell you where you were coming from before we get started. This is brought to you by the Human Renewable Energy Measure. which is part of
It's a
the
concept.
bridges programming, and it's also
It's a concept to
would
make
you
our
please?
economic system better.
I need to get the whole thing out, because otherwise
Well,
I just got to get this,
I'm
because
just
otherwise
trying to help.
I know, I realize that, but I got to tell everybody about the 3 different websites. And one of the websites is Bridges Programming, which you could do programming on. And we have a nonprofit group called Renew the Earth, which is a great nonprofit group. You can donate to that if you'd like to and become a PhD. Please help donate. And then if you also would like to join in, you can use Bridges Programming to help get your humanitarian thoughts across. That's what we're about. And there's so much. We need more people doing more things to help humanity at no cost, and that's a big problem, because we need to keep paying for all this stuff, because we're trying to get this human renewable energy measurement in position and into the vocabulary, and you need to do that. That's the most important thing you can do,
Into the economic
into the
system.
economic system, using
First,
the vocabulary to do it. Okay, we're going to talk about, again today, we're going to talk about Exxon Mobile, and we do own 1 share of Exxon Mobile, and we didn't buy that share. It was given to us as a joke about 15, 18 years ago, and we found it's an invaluable share, not because of the amount of money we make with it, which is about 40 cents on the average, or 30 cents on the average a month, but it is invaluable because we get their publications, and we can vote, and we can see what's going on
we not
inside
only
in a
get
small way.
what's called the
The
lamp,
lamp.
and
What?
this is their
Publication.
one of their publications. They get also their annual summary report. It tells you how much money they've
Let
made
me show you that, if I get that closer.
each year, and
Annual,
and where it's
That's
going.
2014, and it's the Exxon Mobile Annual Summary Report. I think you can see that, Exxon.
And if you enjoy numbers, you really would enjoy looking this over, I'm sure.
So that's,
And it shows all the different places that they've expanded
No.
to, and where they project to expand to in the future, which is always scary to see. Their ambitions are
enormous.
enormous and planetary.
And they're bigger than most countries. But okay, here we go. So Susan's gonna go on with her.
Well, I just wanted to
Go ahead.
introduce the summary.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a discussion, not just me holding forth. And Dennis, you got to chime in and contribute to this discussion if you wish. Okay, I wrote a summary, and I'm calling Exxon Mobile ExMo because I'm just tired of saying the whole thing, but they represent other petrol companies. They are all the petrol companies. They use companies like Exxon Mobile or ExMo or BP or all the ones that have done
They're all
so well.
interrelated.
They use those, the ones that are trying to become players, use these companies as their templates. They imitate and copy them in terms
They
of
work
how
together. They work
and
together.
they do to an extent. The ones that are trying to come into the market, usually the big ones try to absorb them.
Right.
And so
it's very similar to the banking system. The banking system is one big system. It has nothing to do with your smaller banks that you think are smaller. They're part of the larger bank.
Okay, and
ExMo
continues down what I call old school path of economics. All profits all the time, and devil take the hindmost. They are the ones that are on a, quote, dangerous and obsolete path, unquote. And these are CEO Tillerson's words, and he's the CEO of ExMo. His words in this publication, this particular one, 2015, just last year, of the lamp, where he makes his executive statement there. They are on a, quote, dangerous and obsolete path, and their actions are destroying climate and lives. what is happening with climate is much worse than the banking collapse of 2007, which was brought on by fraudulent actions on the part of bankers. Climate destruction by petrochemical company fraudulent selling and promotion is taking us all down for a final count. We have better energy solutions. We have better economic solutions and ideas. ExMo is not too big to fail, and fail they must, and all their petrol buddies. When they scream to be bailed out, we will recognize that tune and turn a deaf ear. We can see a better day, a better way. So that was the summary that I sent out, and Dennis forwarded it to several of his lists, and other people forwarded.
And you could do that too. And anybody can possibly get a message out, try to get our information and forward it out, and come up with your own programming. This is great to do your own stuff. You don't have to listen to us. You can come up with your own ideas. But the goal of this is to always try to promote a measurement that all humanity must have their basic needs met. And we have a measurement for that. It's 1 million energy units of food a year, 1 million energy units of water a year, a certain amount of energy units for your shelter, and all education must be free. And this is a measurable thing. And once we can measure it, then we can go ahead and we can then say, okay, we agree upon this measurement. And then we can go ahead and then once we agree upon the measurements will be implemented. And once the measurements are implemented, then you have your free market taking over, because basic needs will be met around the world, which will stop wars, which we can then promote all kinds of renewable energy and other good things. You know, the best technology for all humanity, not not just for the wealthy. I mean, look how good we're coming along with. Very, very wealthy people always had the newest technology because it's the most expensive. I know people who were professors and they're very wealthy people. They inherited a lot of money, and they had their own PhDs, and they always had the newest cameras and the newest gadgets, and they spent a fortune for this stuff. And then, of course, over the year, I met a guy who spent like $200 for a digital watch when they first came out, a little red digital watch. Now you can buy the digital watch in a dollar store. I mean, this is amazing to see the technology drop, but all humanity should have that, just like it happens now, but it doesn't happen without people working very hard in their life for it. And your hours of life is only about 80 years of life, and then your working life is a little less. But we say that all humanity must have their basic needs met for about 1 day a week of work, and that's the important thing, or 1 hour a day. And then you can let your free market take over for the things you want, not your needs, your wants. And that's where the free market would come in. So you still have your socialized agreement that all humanity has to have their basic needs met. We have the measurements for that. You have an agreement that all humanity will have as much education as possible. And then you have the free market, which is your wants now. You can work as hard as you want for your wants. So that's some of the stuff that we're dealing with. Okay, let's get back to Exxon Mobile. Where are you now?
Okay, I'll review a little bit what we've talked about in the past 2 programs, and I mean, I feel like I'm a terrier or something with a
well, you feel well, you
bone,
you
but I just this is
extremely
important.
I mean, we hear about what's going on in the news, but this is more important actually than you don't hear about the
than
Pope
anything
anymore,
that's
right?
happening now. Well, maybe not. I mean, you can't make that assertion.
Well,
but
the earthquakes
this is influencing. If what petrochemical companies do as far as their business model is, you know, if they're even, many of them are not even challenged. You know, many of them operate with impunity, and there's no challenge to them. Here in the United States, some of the companies are challenged, so they get a little nervous, or you know, they get what's the word I'm looking
Embarrassed.
for? Right. Yeah, well, not even that, because, but they then have to create language that will make what they're doing palatable. And they don't want people to think.
They have to spin it.
They have, right, exactly. And everybody knows what that means. They understand.
They have to lie about it.
It's clear, right. And here, let me just, from this most recent article I could find on what is happening, which it began maybe almost 2 years ago. But in this article, it's saying it's 8 months since New York Attorney General Eric T. Schneiderman announced the first investigation of Exxon Mobile over its past research statements about climate change. Nearly 20 other state attorneys general have voiced their support. So what this is referring to is that Exxon Mobil always had, all this time, that there have been scientists telling us about the impacts of fossil fuel burning, and you can call it petrochemical, whatever you want to call it. Some people take issue with the words fossil fuel. You know what it is. It's oil, gas,
extractive
industries, right. Fuel that's coming out of the deep in the ground or under the oceans to be burned so that we can run our power plants, our factories, make chemicals, etc., plastics, whatever. And what they're saying is, all this time, companies like Exxon Mobil, they made sure they had scientists that were working for them and informing them of, I'm sure, honestly, telling them what the impacts were. But the company takes that information
and they spin it,
and they decide how they're going to then tell it to their investors and stockholders and the public, as far as promoting their products so that people will continue to buy it from them. And this is what they've done. They have spun it to the advantage of their profit making. And we had direct experience with an individual who had been a scientist who'd been bought off in this way. And they'll go to universities and get people who are experts, considered experts in these universities concerning biofuels or renewable energies or things like that. And they'll have them get everyone stuck essentially in a little cul-de-sac of
chasing their tails,
of contradiction and whatever, so that whatever the industry was that they don't think is a good idea, like biofuels is one they dislike intensely, it ends up never going anywhere because
for years you chase
yes,
it's almost like campaign finance reform. You just can't seem to get it. You vote this one in, they pass a law, they rework the law because the people who are running it are running circles around us and they're making us chase our tail. It's very similar to grabbing a dog's tail, and it has, when you try to get your hand off his tail and he keeps on running in circles to get your tail off. That's what we're doing with this.
Well, that's what they set up.
But I also want to explain something, that when we say extractive industries, when you take carbon, when you take oil out of the ground, it's a compressed carbon. And when you ignite that, it throws off a lot of gases that create the problem we're having with the atmosphere. Now, people didn't know this 30, 50, 100 years ago, but we know it now. And when you're dealing with, let's say you're dealing with biofuels, you're dealing with not a carbon that's compressed like coal and oil and
millions
gas,
of years under
for
the
millions
earth.
of years compressed carbon. You're dealing with a carbohydrate, which is something like a piece of wood, which is not as compressed so much.
Not as many particulate
but
matter.
It still puts out particulates,
yeah,
but not anywhere near that of a carbon. So that's what the difference is between a carbohydrate and a carbon, and using biomass fuels or using solar. And then I had an engineer the other day.
Well, solar is a completely.
Yeah, but I have an engineer the other day saying that if you add all the energy that goes into making solar panels, and you and they get obsolete, you have to make new panels up. You're really not saving very much in energy units and cost as far as carbon. But we're suggesting that just
Yeah,
like
but over the lifetime of those
we're
panels,
just
which
like
could be 20 to 50
well, he's
years.
saying that if you do the whole cost analysis,
I don't accept that.
but the thing is, what I said to him, and afterward I said, but as we get better at this, there's a way of probably taking the old panels off and reestablishing
Yes,
them without spending a lot of energy and heat on that. And he said, well, when that happens, we really have a good deal. So, but we
And there
have
can
to,
be
but we,
refinements.
as a species, we grow on this, providing we're not trying to make money on it. We're trying to make a better, a more efficient product, a more efficiency, not waste. And that's the important thing. But because of the economy, we have to keep wasting so somebody can make more of our labor, and they're hoarding our labor. And that's the problem. Human beings are being exploited to a point where they're into slavery. And that's because of the economic system the way it stands now. We must figure out a way, and that's what the HRM does, is a measurement to change the system systemically. And once we've done that, the rest of it will fall into place.
Well, when you change the environment under which people are most people on the planet are operating, and this is our economic environment.
Right.
You then alter behavior significantly, just as it has influenced the behavior that we have now. A slight modification within our economic system, which focuses our attention on real economics, things that are economical, efficient, and not focusing on the profit that can be made and the suppression of technologies, as our economic system is now. It's focused on profit, not on people, etc. But I'll go back to this this article. Now, about 8 months ago or more, well, 8 months ago was when New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman announced the first investigation of Exxon Mobile over its past research statements about climate change. Now, this is where everything hinges. Did Exxon Mobile make fraudulent statements to its investors and stockholders, and of course to the public with their advertising and promotion of their product and its safety or its lack thereof? And since then, 20 more state attorneys general have joined in to voice their support. And he was the only one at first. Now there are 20 more, and now Exxon Mobil is getting a little nervous, so they're pushing back, and they don't want. There's another Attorney General of Massachusetts asking for more information, and they're saying we're getting a little tired of this now, and they're putting their defense in terms of the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. And they're saying, oh, we have freedom of speech. In other words, they interpret freedom of speech as freedom to lie.
Freedom to lie.
We have freedom to lie about information that
if you do lie about something,
we
receive, it's fraudulent or it's
what is their motive? Okay, and Mr. Schneiderman, Attorney General, New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, what he says has consistently argued that he is trying to determine whether the company committed fraud by telling investors and consumers one thing, while its research showed the opposite, end quote. The First Amendment does not give any corporation the right to commit fraud
or lie.
Well, that's what it is.
Right.
It's lying. That's the legal term for lying in order to make profit. And okay, so this is on which the hinge on which this all turns, and whatever. very, very interesting, because when you go to the LAMP, which is the Exxon Mobile publication, it's clear, and this is 2015 when this one came out, that their language is constantly couched in terms, their CEO, Rex Tillerson, he is very, very eager for the Toxic Substances Control Act to be modified in their favor.
And they say modified means changed so they
that
can
they don't-
create more toxins
With
in
a
the
less
air.
regulation.
That's what they're talking about.
Right.
They don't care how many people they hurt or kill or maim, as long as they're making a profit. And that's the problem with it. The profit margin for basic needs must be taken away. And the only way to do that is to get a measurement in place so all humanity has their needs met. Then you allow the free market to take over. But once basic needs are met, no one's going to commit murder. And that's what they're doing. Exxon Mobile and any company that does damage,
on with business as usual.
Any company, any country that is looking to make money for profit. Going back to the Great Crusades, they didn't crusade to kill people. They crusaded to take the land away, so they had profit.
This is the
And we're doing the same thing now.
This is the 2015 LAMP, just last year. Repeal the U.S. biofuels mandate. Okay, this is one of their articles.
It's
cutting into a little bit into their profit making, which is, unheard of. They cannot relinquish anything, because that would show, or even diversify, so that they can actually update or come into the present as far as what we know scientifically, and what we they have so much, and clearly they have a huge commitment. There's a map in here, and I'll find it later, which shows all the places where they're developing their product.
Dennis would say, well, there's a physical problem here with greed. And is that what you would say, Dennis? Why people want to be greedy? Is that what you would say?
Greed, yes. I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, but the thing is, I want to get through that, but the way the system works is it's supposed to be greedy.
Now,
it's supposed to do things that make you make more and more money.
Well, that's what economics
and that's what the economic system works on.
And they're doing
Look how much
in the
money
most,
you can make. Not how many people you're going to kill making that money, but it's how much money you can make at all costs. And that's what's going on now. And that's the way the system works. And that's not considered greedy. It's considered the way it works.
And the sad and unfortunate thing about this product that is the product of petrochemical product is that the more it's used, the more it reveals more places where these companies can go and get more of the resource and prepare it for market, because the climate as it's changing is melting glaciers and areas where they couldn't access before and opening those up now for exploitation and to get product and to sell.
So they're happy with global warming.
They're making opportunities for themselves.
And the more you pollute the air, the more they can sell you air down the road.
The huge picture of this is that ultimately it's going to change our environment so that it is unlivable for our species. It won't be unlivable for
other species.
Any other. I mean, there'll still be life here, but it will be unlivable for our species and a lot of the other ones that are now
unless
sharing
you can afford to buy things.
What, go underground?
Unless you can afford to buy things like certain pharmaceuticals.
Or filters for your
air. Or
well, maybe you can wear
air conditioning.
No, that's not sufficient. You have to have like a spacesuit to negotiate the climate.
We don't know what's going to happen. No one knows what's coming down the road.
we do know that there is significant damage occurring now to the climate, and that the burning of petrochemical fuels is contributing to that, and that we have what is called a human influenced climate change period in the development of our history as a human species on this planet. We are impacting the planet and its atmosphere even more than ever before. Before we would, expand into territories and with our agriculture and farming, take over huge areas of land and displace other species. But this is going to impact everything that's living here and transform what can live here. So here we go. Here's how it's done. They hire the best and the brightest, of course, and then indoctrinate them and give them all these wonderful technologies to play with. One of them is the full wave field inversion technology. This is how they're finding things deep in the under the ocean and underground that they could never really see very well before. Now they can see what's down there. They know, the geologists that they hire know what they're looking at, and where the cavities where petrol is, where they can go in, and how they can most easily go in, and they can drill sideways and whatever now. So they are so the technology is mind-boggling, and of course very, very tempting to somebody who is interested.
Trying to make money upon money upon money.
But
it's to understand the money is making other people work their lives away, and the purpose of the HREM
the profit that they're making.
The purpose of the HREM is to make sure all humanity has their basic needs met, and that's measurable in energy units per year for food, water, and shelter. And of course, we only live about 80 years of age, so all these measurements fit in. And once you've got that measurement in the vocabulary, then you can first deal with it, just like you can deal with any measurement. But until we get the measurement in the vocabulary, we're always going to be chasing our tails, and we need to get this fixed. I mean, and we believe the HREM, the Human Renewable Energy Measurement, is the way to do this, and we need your help to get this out and move it forward. It can't be done without other people talking about it and understanding that we need this measurement in position.
Okay, well, just to give you a little insight as to how, a promising geologist, and I won't name this person because it doesn't, no point, but how he became seduced or whatever into the, and this is in the most recent LAMP, an article about, it's called A Great Time to Be in Exploration. And they call it the Exxon Production Research, a portion of their company. And this is where the geologists function. And this individual, he started out, he loved the great outdoors. He'd go fishing and surfing and skiing, and spent time on the Jersey Shore, and he really enjoyed the ocean. And the question, he was interested in the coral reefs, and so he went into geology in school and got a bachelor's degree at Duke University. And then he went on to pursue a master's degree in oceanography at the University of Rhode Island. And at that point, when he was writing his thesis, he met somebody who was working at the Exxon Production Research section of the Exxon Mobile company. And he started working with this individual while he was, and he said, I started, and they call it EPR, and that's in Houston, Exxon Production Research, in 1981, and quote, planning to eventually return to graduate school for a PhD and work in academia, but we were conducting seismic stratigraphy workshops all over the world, and developing lots of new concepts. It was so much fun that I couldn't believe I was getting paid for it. I remained at EPR for 12 years. And so this then parlayed into another position in Exxon Mobile, another. And he's now running the department of exploration for Exxon Mobile. And I did quote from him at the end of last week's program, and you can see how complete his mental state is now aligned with the company. And here's the question of the interviewer: how would you summarize exploration's function? And this is his answer, quote, "Our job is to discover new sources of oil and gas that are better than what is already in ExxonMobil's industry-leading resource base, now estimated at 92 billion oil equivalent barrels. By better, I mean they have the potential to generate a higher economic return over the life of the resource for all stakeholders." And I'm going to stop there because I'm going to read other things. This is the mindset of ExxonMobil. This is their geologist that is working for them to get what he calls better sources of oil and gas. Better to them is more of the same, a higher economic return for all the stakeholders. He's come a long way from being fascinated by coral reefs and wondering how they function. Does he wonder how the oil platforms off Australia are affecting coral reefs now? Does he wonder about that? I am just curious. Or has that part of his mind been so obscured from when he was a youngster and fascinated by geology and the ocean and all the amazing potentials of nature and different formations? He's come to this point in his thinking process where better means to him more profit for stakeholders of ExxonMobil. And when he goes on to say, they talk about upstream ventures. This is what they're going to do in the future. Upstream means what's going to happen. ExxonMobil Upstream Ventures focuses on securing interests in discovered but undeveloped oil and gas resources. And then he goes on to say the corporations, one of their affiliates specializes in North American unconventional resources, mainly shale plays. They call it a play, like a gambling game. You put your money down. The shale play is the like up in Canada where they are digging into the shale in northern Canada and extracting from that oil that is
using pressure and water.
Pressure and water, extremely expensive process. In fact, right now it's not economically. It has no economic returns that are profit, but they see that it will in the future because they have all the numbers, all the projections are telling them.
They also look at population growth too. They're looking,
and they're assuming that yes, the demand will keep increasing exponentially. Of course, the damage will keep increasing exponentially also. The damage to the climate. And there is a finite situation here where the climax is going to happen, and it won't
what's going to happen
beneficial to life on this planet.
So slowly. Like for instance, you're going to have.
It's happening faster and faster.
No, but
now.
it's going to happen to a point where you won't notice it. Where all of a sudden you'll get a disease, an airborne disease, and they'll come up with a cure or a semi-cure, and meanwhile you'll weaken your bone structure over the years, or maybe you'll weaken your ability to breathe for most people, and the people will start to die out, and then you may have more catastrophic flooding and more catastrophic heat and more catastrophic cold. I mean, all these things come together, and according to other scientists, now I'm not a scientist, so I'm going by what the scientists tell me, that if the Gulf Stream happens to
change its direction.
stop,
Or yeah, stop.
then you'll have another.
And that's all temperature directed.
You'll have another. You'll have another
a
ice age. So this is all
clockwise.
Well, I don't know the direction. Doesn't
Well,
matter. But the point is, if you
to-
change certain things
in the
because of
Atlantic
climate,
Ocean.
you could have another ice age. You could have it'll catastrophically. And people worry about a meteor falling on the planet, but my God, we're doing it slowly.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about
You don't have
the
to worry
meteor.
about the meteor. You don't have to worry about the end
No.
times. We are creating our own end times. We are creating our own problems because we're not willing to face the fact that you and I, on our lifestyle, are killing people every single
Now, the
day.
solution is not going to come from Exxon Mobile.
It's not.
They're
going-
not going to change their mindset.
or
They have
Donald Trump or
completely-
Hillary Clinton. It's not going to happen.
They have completely brainwashed this particular geologist, from his curiosity point when he was young and fascinated by nature and geology and decided to study it in school. He has slowly been brainwashed to the point where, okay, here's the interviewer is asking another question. How does exploration develop its geoscience talent? In other words, all these nice people who are they're geologists, how are their talents being developed? Okay, so they're given all these wonderful toys to play with, for one thing, all the latest technology, and then the individual who's being interviewed here, who runs who oversees all of them, says, quote, "The best geologist is the one who has worked in teams with the engineers, commercial people, gas marketers, and others to learn how to develop a superior product." I mean, I can't say it any better.
But
Those
by
who
the way,
become-
he's not far wrong. But if it's a superior product to help mankind, I
Yeah, but that's
agree
not
with
what
him.
they're doing.
If we-
He's talking about
But he's
product
talking
that
about a
creates
product that can
profit
create profit.
for the
That
company.
is not what you want to do. You want a superior product that helps mankind, not to make a profit for a few.
Okay, here we go. This is continuing that same statement. Those who become technical and business leaders within the corporation will have a complete understanding of what is required to create the most value for the shareholders.
Right. And again, what is value? Is value something to make more money, gold or silver, or is it
That's
value
the
for
bottom
quality
line.
of
If
life?
you're working as a geologist for ExMo, you are required to create the most value
In
for the
money,
shareholders.
in money, not in value for quality of life. Right.
Well, value means profit for the shareholders,
Right,
cash
that's
in
what-
the bank. Okay,
What is valuable? That's the question.
here's what happens to companies that are, trying to get in on the game. Quote, "We are seeing a lot more exploration prospects coming on the market." Well, gee, we know why that is. Glaciers are melting off. You're seeing all kinds of possibilities. Technology is getting better and better. Some of these involve situations where financially constrained companies are offering attractive deals in which we can acquire an interest and help them explore their quality properties. Okay, an example of that would be off Brazil, right?
Right.
And also Cuba. They've discovered there are resources. Okay, and these are Cuba is a country that can't afford to go and pull out their underwater
So they
resources,
can
or
send people
so
to
that
make money.
they'll
to
make
do
a
that.
deal with a country like that, and say, look, we'll do this for you, and you can get a little percentage of the income for yourselves.
Isn't that great?
Okay, and this, he says, goes on to say, is particularly true of the international and deep water sectors. They're going into a lot of water areas now, a lot of ocean near the coastlines, but not too terribly near. You can see them in the distance, the platforms.
If you're on a boat, you can see them easily, by the way.
And of course, their technology, this wave field inversion technology, and he describes what it is: seismic imaging technologies made possible by our industry-leading use of super fast, high-performance computing. So they're able to make an image of the structures below the ocean
similar to
and below
a large MRI.
yeah, it's like an X-ray
Right.
of the deepest under the water of the oceans, and they can, and of course a good geologist knows what they're looking at, and can say, well, this is a good place to drill. Let's do that. Let's do a little test drill here.
Like a dowser.
Yeah, well, they've got a lot more knowledge than that. I mean, it's not just a belief system. This is, they can see the structures that they're looking for, where the product would be trapped, and how much is there. They can even compute how much is there and how much money they'll make off of it. Okay, so they say we continue to progress into increasingly challenging areas. So I made a note there, the Arctic, of course. And without a doubt, it's a great time for exploration, which is profit exploration and planet exploitation. That's my wording. I don't want you to think that somebody working for Exxon Mobile would say that, and I don't think that would ever happen. And of course, there's a long article about here. They want to repeal the U.S. biofuels mandate with all the.
Because the reality is that if you do,
they don't want there to be any alternative. They don't want anything for people to turn to, and they're not even talking about solar because they have no way to spin that in their favor.
No, there's more to this than that. The biggest user of energy in our country or this world is not electricity. It is liquid transportation fuels. That's the biggest user of energy, not electricity. New York State, by the way, is very energy efficient with renewable, but mainly it's from Canada with water. But the biggest user of energy is our liquid transportation factor worldwide, and they do not want
anybody
that coming in to displace that. And that's what a biofuel system would do. So it's terribly important to understand that we need something to stop, to change the transportation system. The pollution we're getting, especially in cities like New York and California, is because of in small communities where the trucking comes in with the diesel fuels, and it spews out all these. Matter of fact, if you go online and look at our website, there's an excerpt from On Deadly Ground on the Texas renewable energy. There's a video there, and it's from the Infinite Power of Texas. And on the very back side of that video shows all three forms of renewable energy, what they do and what they mean. But on the very back side, we had permission to use a portion of On Deadly Ground from Steven Seagal movie, and he did a beautiful job on the speech, and it's very much true. And so therefore, we're suggesting you look at that. Dennis, have you ever looked at that video on our site by some chance? The Infinite Power of Texas on our website?
No, I'm sorry. I have not.
Well, if you get a chance, go on our website and look at the Infinite Power of Texas, And you can bypass it's only a 20-minute tape or 18 minutes, but on the very back side is a speech that Steven Seagal made about the deadly stuff that happens, but we can do something about it. Steven Seagal answers to get people into Congress and Senate to change the law, but in fact, he states that the big corporations make the law because of the economic system. So he chases his tail again. So we're back to the same problem. But if you get a chance, we can talk about that in the next show. If you just look at that video, Dennis, you may enjoy that. We can discuss part of it on our next show. But look at the infinite power of Texas. Susan, do you have anything more?
Yes, I just wanted to just go to Australia for a short visit here. They've had Exxon Mobile has had a presence there for more than 100 years off the coast of Australia, off the and it's called the they have a name for it. I can't spot it right now, but they have, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, probably 30 platforms now off the coast of oil, rigs. Okay, here's a picture. Oh, okay, that's not on. It doesn't matter. We can show this the next time. A picture of an oil rig, but you can imagine it out in the distance. They have all these platforms have been functioning and bringing in. They've grown from a sales office into a nationwide enterprise with investments of more than 20 billion, powering Australia's economy. It develops and pipes natural gas amounting to billions of cubic feet from the nation's largest fields, produces and refines millions of barrels of oil and stores and transports millions of gallons of fuel product every year, etc. And you know what they did? They named each one of these oil platforms after a different fish. Now, okay. Is that cynical or what?
This is what
let me name.
This is what the platforms look like. You can see it on your screen now.
And there's one in the distance over here on the
bottom side.
And then there's all of them out in the water. Let me read the names of the fishes they've named these after, which are probably the ones that are disappearing rapidly in the area. There's dolphin, perch, barracuda, seahorse, whiting, moonfish, snapper, marlin, tuna, west tuna, kipper, flounder, halibut, cobia, mackerel, blackback, kingfish, west kingfish, kingfish A, bream. You got the point. These people,
yeah.
I can't say it any better. They're so cynical, and then they think this is funny, probably, that they're naming these rigs after fish that are quickly disappearing from our oceans, not just from overfishing, but from contamination by these petrochemicals.
Thank you all for listening. This has been Jeff Bellis, Susan Comont, and Dennis Carius here on Wednesday World Call-In. This has been brought to you by Bridges Programming and the HRM and Renew the Earth. Please talk about the human renewable energy measures to your friends. And we'll thank you again for listening. We'll be back on Sunday with Sunday on the Fun Scoop, the longest scoop in the world.
You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.
Fossil fuel affects our lives like ripples on a lake.
Cars and farms and factories and trucks.
Supplies go down and prices soar, our futures are at stake. And when it's gone, it won't come back, and we'll be out of luck. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy. We can get our energy from corn and grass and trees.
Even trash converts to biofuels.
Break loose from the stranglehold of oil companies. Renewables can fuel the world.
We're here to spread the news. Oh, energy, energy.
It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.